शुक्रिया बहुत बहुत ladies and gentlemen, things will be much easier to understand if we recognize that there are two poles of power in Pakistani society. One is the establishment of Pakistan and the other pole is people of Pakistan. If we understand this contradiction, then we shall also understand why there is dictatorship and why there are small periods of democracy when governments elected by the people of Pakistan take over. Now, then there is a principal contradiction between progressive thinking and extremism. There is a collaboration between the elite of Pakistan, the establishment of Pakistan, and the extremist elements. And that's why people of Pakistan don't have trust in the electoral process, and our electoral turnout is so low. The story of electoral reforms is a long one. There was this People's Act, which of 1951, People's Representation Act, which was replaced in 1976 with the Representation of People Act, which was again replaced in 2017 by the Election Act 2017. But we see that as we move ahead in our legislative process, the powers of the Election Commission of Pakistan have been further strengthened with every step. And the powers of the establishment to rig the elections have been blocked by one method or another. And so our establishment is forced to think of new methods and very innovative methods to rig the elections. We have been experiencing it now and then very often. But I think a landmark reform is that of count of votes. Previously, in the 1976 acts, votes were cast at a polling station, and then the ballot boxes were taken to the office of the returning officers. And on the way, many things happened, and boxes disappeared, and boxes were manipulated, and votes were found on the streets, and those kinds of things. It was none other than Shahid Benazir Bhutto who insisted again and again that the vote count should be on the polling station in the presence of the polling station agents, and whatever the vote count is, it should be displayed outside the polling station so that everybody can see. And then those results of polling stations will be taken to this is the famous Form 45 everybody is talking about. A vote count at the polling station in the presence of polling agents and the form signed by polling agents. Now, this was a great achievement. And this really pushed back the forces of the establishment and the forces that wanted to rig the elections. And I'm very satisfied to note that today every Pakistani is talking of Form 45 and Form 47. Form 47 is the one where the results obtained at polling stations are put together and added together, and provisional results are announced. Now, many amendments were proposed. In the Election Act 2017, the PTI government brought in about 100 amendments, and they were very surprisingly passed by the National Assembly. And then they came to the Senate of Pakistan, and I had the honor of presiding over the Parliamentary Affairs Committee, which looked on these proposed amendments. There was long debates, 9 meetings of the committee, and after that the PTI government representatives, they just walked out of the committee. And about 34 of those were passed. But once again, fortunately or unfortunately, the report prepared by the committee and put at the floor of the 7 never was presented to the Senate because there were forces that were...
ताज हैदर साहब 1 मिनट रह गया सर, 1 मिनट रह गया कंक्लूड करने के लिए.
Now the further reforms that we want to bring and which we have already discussed with the Honorable Chief Election Commissioner. One is that there should be a uniform criteria for qualification or disqualification of candidates, because it used to happen that a candidate was qualified at one polling in one constituency and was disqualified at another. This was because there was no uniform criteria. Now we have also said that postal ballot should be regularized, so that there should be a voters list which should be displayed to the candidates and on which the postal ballot should be decided that what is to be accepted and what is not to be accepted. But the basic point remains that of the census. It's surprising. Our time is coming, it's not up. So it's very surprising there are 145 million voters in a population of 240 million. That means only 40% of our population is below the age of 18. Now that's very encouraging from the point of view of population control. But if we take the number of voters, what it is on the basis of identity cards issued to them and the voters are less, then the population of Pakistan is not less than 300 million. Now with that population, the allocation of constituency, the allocation of seats to the provinces changes. High-handed methods were used in order to reduce the population in the first phase from 300 million to 240 to 250 million. And then in the Council of Common Interest, they said if you want the elections, then the population of Pakistan is 240 million. So many things have to be taken up. And as I said earlier, that with every legislation, every legislation has been a setback for the forces of dictatorship, while it has strengthened the Election Commission of Pakistan. We have to legislate again and again, find faults with the system, and build what one honorable judges has said, firewalls against those interventions. Ladies and gentlemen, the real firewall is inside you. If you resist it, then we can have fair and free elections.
Thank you very much. Bahut shukriya.